Good evening. Calling the Recreation Joint Advisory Committee to order. We have quite a few guests here tonight. First, I'd like to start off with an approval of last month's minutes. They were sent out to the group. I don't know if I have quorum. 1, 2, 3, 4. I need 5, right?
5.
Okay. All right, we're good. Thank you for helping me count. Obviously not my strong suit. The minutes were set out to the committee prior to the meeting. I hope everyone had a chance to review them. Would someone like to make a motion to approve those minutes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of last month's meeting.
Thank you for that. A second?
I'll second.
Did anyone see any omissions or errors? All those in favor of approving the minutes as they are? Robert, do you have a vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Anyone opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. Good evening. I see we have several guests here tonight. I'm going to make the assumption some of you might want to speak, all of you, I'm not sure. Okay, very good. What we'll do is if you could just come to that mic right in front of us one at a time. Please introduce yourself. And if it's okay, we'll give you 3 minutes to speak. Jessica will put you on a timer, and that just helps us keep the meeting moving quickly, okay? Thank you. Welcome.
Hello, my name is Chuck Jansen. I live at 6 Allison Lane in Bella Vista. I've been here 12 and a half years and really love it. I'm a prior Recreation Committee member, so I appreciate each and every one of you and all you do to make our amenities even more enjoyable than they already are. I'm here to speak to an issue that hasn't really come up before. I'm a pickleball player, a tennis player, a golfer, a walker, a hiker, a swimmer, workout. I utilize a lot of the recreation facilities, but primarily I'm a tennis player. And in the past, we've had a group that's been run by Ron Gass. Plays on Saturdays. We have probably 45 to 60 people in the group, and we can only play 32 at a time. And that's not a problem because a lot of us are traveling and we're here and there. But the USTA comes in and takes the courts from about this time of the year through the rest of the summer. And we cannot play on Saturdays, which is the date that we tend to want to play. And we've been doing this. We are members, whereas many of the USTA members that come in, and I'm a lifetime member of the USTA. I'm not bad-mouthing the USTA, okay? And we can't get a court. And we're old people. And so the idea of, well, Chuck, you can play in the fall. Well, I may not be here or physically or able or may not be here at all. And we want to play now. There may not be a tomorrow, and the guys that are speaking after me are older than I am. So I'm not sure exactly what the issue is. It's primarily management of the golf facility, and the people that have been utilizing it the most during the pandemic, social distancing. It's a lot easier to social distance on a tennis court than it is on a pickleball court. And we want to play, and we want to play today. And that has been denied us pretty much for the next 6 months. And so if there's anything the rec committee could do with the management of the tennis center, we would really appreciate it. Thank each of you for your service. And again, the amenities just keep getting better and better.
Before you, hi Chuck, how are you?
Great.
Joan, remember me?
Oh yes, we've been on the committee.
Yeah, go way back. And you're all welcome to speak, but maybe you missed an email that went out earlier today. So.
Oh yeah, I have been working in the yard and watching
Okay.
the eclipse.
Well, just so you know, a couple of things you said are definitely true, which is USDA is very, we're in peak of it right now, but Jake met with Ron this morning and heard his concerns and went through things kind of item by item. And Jake is going to offer you guys 6 courts every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. and they'll be reserved for you. And he will take on the management of it, because Ron, one of your fellow players, as you well know, has been doing the work of trying to set this up. Now, that's not gonna solve every problem, because while you guys are gonna get reserved courts, there can be other members that might feel like, okay, they can't get on. You know, Saturday mornings, as you know, in every sport, that's a popular time to play. But I also want to make it clear to the rec committee, because they may not know this, USTA, while they are very prevalent in April and May, they do not get all the courts. So for the traditional USTA league, as you know, they play 3 doubles normally and 2 singles matches. They prefer to play all at the same time, so that would be 5 courts, but they don't always. Sometimes they have 4 courts. That's only through the end of May. Then towards the second half of the summer, and you mentioned 6 months, but it's really only for about 4 to 5, there's only really the doubles USTA leagues, and they only play 3 matches, so they'll be only getting 3 courts at one time. Yeah. So, and again, while we're benefiting you if you play USTA, in order for us to get enough teams here in Bella Vista that are 100% Bella Vista POA members, it can't be done.
Can't be done.
So you can't have it both ways. You want the competition and the fun of USTA, but there are going to be people who aren't members. And again, just as a review, just as like golf.
We get 6. I'd be very happy.
Well, yep. That email went out earlier today. Jake met with Ron and had a meeting. So if that addresses some of your concerns, you're welcome to talk as well.
Thank you, Joan. That's really great news.
Well, Jake sat down with Ron, so I'll pass the kudos along.
Just to clarify, you're saying that our group.
Thank you, Chuck. Yeah, if you could just come to the mic, because we're live on streaming and people can't hear you. Thank you.
My name is Carl Kimball, and I'm a resident of Bella Vista, taxpayer, association payer, tennis payer. And I just wanted to clarify, basically, I'm maybe repeating things that's already resolved, but we have a group of 45 to 50 who have played on Saturday mornings all year round. Sometimes we're dumb enough to even do it in the middle of winter. And so we just wanted to make sure that we've had that year after year after year. We wanted to make sure that we would still have that time, which in the past has been 8 to 10 during the spring and summer. So if that's resolved, I just would say thank you, and I'll quit before my 3 minutes is up.
Thanks for coming in. We appreciate it.
That is the plan, and thanks for letting us know.
Did anybody else want to speak? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sarah Evans. I have been a resident of Bella Vista for a little over a year now, and we love our community. We are also avid tennis players as well, and actually that's one of the things that really drew us here when we made the move to Northwest Arkansas. Was I remember from when I was quite young coming up here and playing tennis, and what a wonderful tennis community it was. I have noticed a few things that it's been hard to get involved in the tennis community here. I've talked to the front desk, I've talked to Jake, I've tried to get on drills, I've tried to get on teams. Texts aren't really, returned. I'm told, oh, if you don't work, yeah, we've got lots for you to do, but if you work, sorry, and I'll ask about drills in the evening, and like, oh yeah, we do, and then they never call me back, and I try to text again and just don't get any response. And then when I look at some of the teams, there are some teams around, and would love to be active in those, but they're already full, and really when I look, only about 3 or 4 of the 16 players are Bella Vista residents. Most of them are from outside of Bella Vista, and it would be nice to kind of get some opportunities. I know like at Shadow Valley and Pinnacle, some of the other communities that have tennis courts, they have requirements where you can still accommodate players who are outside, but their communities, but they kind of have a residency requirement for a certain, like you have to have maybe 50% of your team should be Bella Vista residents or, residents of that community. And similar with some of the other facilities, you have to be, like some of the athletic clubs, you have to have a certain number of the membership comprises that team. So I know we do want to see a lot of competition up here, and I do think that is wonderful, but I also think that Bella Vista teams utilizing Bella Vista courts should also make sure that they are reaching out to all of the Bella Vista players who are interested as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Sarah.
So Sarah, I will try and follow up with you. You mentioned text not being returned. Is that to like a Jake's number or?
Yeah, like I'm on vacation, and then I get that, but you had said you would put me on a drill, and so at some point, could you let me know?
So you're not aware of when the drills are?
Correct.
Is that
right? Yeah.
But do you get the Rec-E letter by any chance?
Yes.
Okay, because we advertise all of that, but let me do some follow-up.
Because I've been told some of them are closed. So that's kind of,
I can't.
so these were just things I'm being told, and maybe it's not accurate.
I will have
Absolutely.
to check. There are some, and you mentioned that you're working traditional hours
Correct.
still.
Yes.
There are some that are definitely during the work day.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And I don't know what the evening status is, but I will definitely follow up with you. But it is difficult. You've probably been elsewhere, but it is difficult when you're newer to the community because everybody has their established groups. We struggle with the same thing in pickleball. But I will try and see what we can do for you, and I'll follow up. Is your email up to speed in the Bella Vista membership database?
It should be.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can find you through the tennis.
Sure. And I
opportunity too.
certainly appreciate that.
Okay. What's your playing level?
4-0.
That might be part of the problem too.
Well, there are 4-0 teams.
We do have
there
4-0.
Are 4-0 teams.
Yeah.
And they're fielding multiple 4-0 teams.
Oh, absolutely.
But they're completely full.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
And when I've asked the front desk, like, hey, can you put my name out there as somebody who'd be willing to play, I never get a call back.
And again, you know how this is. You've obviously played USTA before, and I'm a tennis player too. Unfortunately, when you have your team, it's hard to break in, but that doesn't mean we can't follow up with you better.
It has been a little bit harder here than when I've moved to other places. I have to make that observation. Well, I do drills there, so yeah. So they just started. Yes. So once when we moved last year, the tennis courts had been raised. So we just now in the last, I guess, 2 months that it's open, have been able to accommodate. But it's always nice to be able to utilize the courts in your own community as well. So.
The Iowa State USTA, Arkansas, will also make your name available to 4-0 teams.
I know, and I have used that as well. But I have reached out to the coordinator. I have been trying to, reach out to everybody who can, assist. But it would be if we could get a little bit more support from the tennis center. For those of us who are new, that would be helpful as well.
I will definitely pass that along. I just want to make it clear that the tennis center is open to the public, and so we do not restrict and we don't police, because the good of it is sometimes a challenge, because if we take away certain availability for outsiders to play, then it means our members don't always have the same competition. And I know you understand that, but I will definitely follow up with Jake and the front desk there and see. Unfortunately, you're a little bit behind the 8 ball, as you know now, because the teams are already formed.
Oh, I know. I tried to reach out before, so.
Yeah, I will do some follow up. Thank you for your help.
Sarah, Joan, thank you very much. Did anybody else want to speak tonight? All right, thank you all for coming. We appreciate the input and the involvement. All right, beginning with the amenity reports. Metfield. Robert? Robert, do you have your mic on?
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Thank you, sir.
Yes. See, I just want to say before I begin, throughout the week I bounce back and forth between the 3 fitness centers, and I just want to make a comment in that the staff is always accommodating and for some reason in a good mood every time I'm there. So that's just kudos to your staff at all 3 fitness centers. For Metfield, overall condition, the fitness center was moderately busy the days I visited. The pavilion area was clean and not being used at the time I visited. Park restrooms looked great, were all well stocked. The playground all looked good and was being used by several families at the time. Pickleball courts were in use and looked great. Some folks had their dogs, however, in the court. They weren't bothering anyone. The pool area, of course, is still closed. Areas for review, it seems the repairs that were done in the fitness room left of the window frames got scraped up significantly. I've included pictures there. It's in that little corner on what would be the southeast or southwest corner of the exercise room. It doesn't affect anything except the aesthetics. Member interactions, I spoke with a few folks on the playground that noted the pile of mulch just outside the fence was beginning to wash away. Otherwise, all the comments were positive, especially over the slide structure. The only additional comments I'd have is dogs in the pickleball courts. I'm not sure if that's a good idea, but again, they weren't bothering anyone. In fact, they were chasing a few balls. That's all I have.
All right, Robert, thank you for that. We appreciate you. Next is Branchwood. That is mine. I was out there on Saturday about 12:30. Boy, it was quiet, much quieter than I've seen it in a long time. Only 15 cars out there. Only 2 pickleball courts were in use. There were 2 groups playing disc golf. There was a family playing volleyball on the racquetball court. 3 years, first time I've seen someone playing volleyball, so that was interesting. The new mulch on the playground looks awesome, you guys. It looks really nice and fresh. The striping looks fresh and welcoming in the parking lot, and a lot of repairs have been made to that fence along the walkway. Everything just looks really fresh and well put together out there, so thank you. The one comment I would have is that maintenance shed, and it just doesn't put our best foot forward, and because it's so close to the tee off for tee number 2, it's kind of like right there where our members are, so just food for thought. I did not speak to anyone out there. Under additional observations for the long term, I would recommend keeping the disc golf signs on the radar for replacement. They're really showing a lot of weather wear and some mold. Not an issue today, but I would just keep it top of mind. I would suggest looking at the number of laminated paper signs that are taped to the glass doors and windows throughout the facility. Many of them share repetitive information from permanent signs, and they just distract a little bit from a professional field. Maybe that's more of an opinion, but food for thought. Trivia. From the 2023 udisc.com site, which is an app and a website for disc golfers, a wealth of information. This is their year-end report, so if you're playing trivia Tuesday night, here you go. The number of disc golf courses in the United States has doubled in the last 6 years. There are more disc golf courses in the United States than there are Dunkin' Donut restaurants. There are 10,063 disc golf courses in the United States, 16,000 golf courses, 50,003 pickleball courts, and 1,142 tennis courts. So we're picking up some momentum there. And the short courses are being built twice the rate of the 18-hole. So just some fun stuff for you. Moving over to Loch Lomond, I went there immediately following. Again, very quiet. The majority of the people that were there was a social group gathered together at the small dog park. there is a, this is the weirdest thing, I'm not sure what it is. It's like a old plastic box that's totally deteriorating, and it's partially full of gravel, and it's on the soccer field. And it's been there for 2 months. I have no idea how it got there, why it's there, and why it doesn't disappear. Just weird. And then the pitch training net, I think it's broke. If someone that knows more about it than I do could look at it, I think the weld is broken. If not, it's fine. If not, maybe it just needs to get taken away. And then, again, this is just food for thought for the future, maybe me just dreaming. The aqua pond area, to me, would look great if it had like one of those informational signs. I'm thinking like we do at the, yeah, like we do at the boat launches, and maybe it talked about the different kind of fish that we raise and what we do with them and how the process works. I know everything costs money, I'm well aware. And natural plantings, okay, now I'm getting crazy, kind of Osage Park-ish. But I'm thinking like if the fly tires and the master gardeners had a little spare time, maybe they could come up with something creative. Just, you know, food for thought.
I think we have at least one kiosk that we've taken down elsewhere if it's still usable.
Okay.
We'll see about putting it up.
All right, just something silly. And then moving on to Blowing Springs, Kathleen.
All right.
Oh, sorry, Kathleen. I was just gonna tell you, Deborah, before we moved on. And to Robert on Metfield, the slide repairs, those are gonna be done. We're waiting for nicer weather, but those are on the queue. And also the signs on the disc golf course, Nicole's got that. We're waiting to order them. We just budgeted them. We're waiting till it gets really good to put them up so they won't get too weathered yet.
Awesome, thank you.
they're
Appreciate
coming.
that. Boy, that was a quick turnaround on that. Let me see what else I can come up with. Thank you.
And then you've mentioned this before, but what particularly, because as you know, money is a challenge, what particularly do you feel, if you had one thing that you could improve on the maintenance shed, and are you talking about the actual building or the lean-to, which is separate, but in the general area?
I'll give you this picture. Paint would be nice, but there's just a ton of junk in it. It looks worse than my bedroom closet. I'm just saying.
But it's a lean-to and it's storage. I mean,
Okay.
I mean, is it wood that you don't like, or is it just? I mean, unfortunately, there's no front on that building, and we don't have room for it elsewhere. So,
I'll show you the picture. I'll show you the picture. Okay. Thank you.
Blowing Springs. The park looked great as usual. Everything was really manicured. The grounds were clean. The bathrooms were clean. The trails were clear. No areas for review. As far as member interactions, I spoke with Susan at the front office. She said that everything's been great. It's been nice and busy. I also talked to a family that was actually here visiting from Minnesota just for the eclipse. They said they had been at the park most of the day, and they were enjoying the creek when I spoke with them. Looking forward to the Gear Garden opening soon. I always receive a lot of feedback whenever that opens back up. Additional observations, the bathrooms were stocked, which was really great. Sometimes when I go on Sunday, it's kind of towards the end of the week and low on supplies, but everything was super stocked, which was nice. And then the only other addition I would have would be thanks for all the work for the Easter egg hunt. The kids had a blast and it was really fun, so thank you for all of that. Yep.
We went down to Blowing Springs too, which was fun afterwards, and got some kids that were there, so it was fun.
That's awesome. Thank you. Brian, you want to cover Tyrie and Granton, please?
I certainly will, Deb. Lots to talk about at Tyrie. There seems to be a lot going on out there. As far as anything wrong, nothing that I haven't previously mentioned. Let's talk about the things that are right. The handful of trees that have been recently cut down because they were just in poor health, all of the last of the debris has been cleaned up from those, so that looks much nicer. I have a new roof on my pavilion out there at Tyrie. That looks nice. They replaced some framing lumber and some decking as well that needed to be replaced, so that's looking really good. Looks like they've started to do some grass trimming, etc. out there already. And then they have regraded behind the restroom building to redirect the surface runoff away from that bathroom building to help prevent any settling and any structural issues that would likely eventually occur. The one time after heavy rain, I noticed there was basically a stream running right next to the corner of the building, and that will cause trouble over time. The boats were all registered that were on the boat rack out there. Everything was secured. A lot of traffic, a lot of launching and landing of boats. I was out there on Friday. I did notice that one of the spigots was on. Rick, are they opening the restrooms here in the next few days, or?
They're in that process now. They may actually be finished, but I do know that Tyrie is open. I was out there today.
Okay. Yeah, because again, the spigot was running Friday when I was out there, and I noticed that the signs had been removed from the door, so I figured it was probably going to be in just a couple of days before they open that back up. Is there a way, I don't know if this is a contract issue or what, but is there a way of taking the outhouse that's at Tyrie and replacing the one at Granton with that one?
What we do every year is we take the one from Tyrie and it goes to the gun range.
Okay.
Because it corresponds to our busy time out there at Trap and Skeet. But I can call the Porta Toilet Company and have them replace it.
It'd be nice. The one that's out at Granton right now is it's getting faded. It's getting worn looking. It doesn't clean up as well. It's not as sightly as certainly the one that was at Tyrie over the winter, which was a nice new, fresh looking one. So anyway, a lot going on at Tyrie. I was really glad to see all of the maintenance activities that have been happening out there. Moving on to Granton, Granton was just horrible for traffic on Friday. There again with launching and landing of boats, I was thinking maybe a traffic light might be prudent at this point. There was so much comings and goings. Granton, the same as usual. They haven't started the mowing yet. Everything looked good. Mutt mitts were available. The restroom was stocked, fairly clean. A lot of activity. I did notice that someone, for whatever reason, left their boat trailer rails laying at the north corner of the parking lot. If I had to make an assumption, let's launch the boat. Let's swap out the rails while the boat's off the trailer. Let's just leave them here. We'll reload the boat and go home. I don't know, I'm just speculating. But if we could get somebody to pick those up, they're laying right there on that north corner. That's about all I have.
Okay. Great, thank you, I appreciate that. JP, how are you this evening?
I'm great. So the camp on the beach is fantastic. I've really done a good job. I know.
JP, is your mic on? Thank you, sir.
The place looks fantastic. I've been watching the dog mess, litter, whatever you want to call it, and it's spotless at the moment. So whatever's going on there, and there's a lot of dogs walking around, but people are keeping it clean. I did notice on the canoe rack, there's 7 canoes, kayaks there. Only one of them has got a 24 sticker on it. The others are like 21, 22. So I don't know if we do anything about that or not, but maybe people have just left their things there and abandoned them or something. The toilet doors are open now, so thank you. And the last time they weren't. And I went around there today and there was a wedding going on because of the eclipse. So and the people were really, like, they love the facility and they're grateful that it's there, and it was good. That's all. Oh, I do have one thing. Can we post when the beach will be opening again there?
We can definitely say the opening date. We just don't have it figured out for the week after Memorial Day yet, because the way the schools are getting out this year, we don't know if we have staff that week after. So we'll be open for Memorial Weekend. We've been waiting to put out official everything until we figure out how many lifeguards we have that are from the schools that are out a little earlier, and how many kids that are older. So it's been a hardship for us this year because it's the first time that the schools are getting out after Memorial Weekend. Usually they get off the week before, or at least that Friday before. So that's why we're waiting, and we will post it, yeah.
Most people ask me that, and so I try to phone. I tried on the website to find out. It's not easy.
Yeah,
It can be, the actual opening is posted now on the calendar under the beach and the pools. It does say the
Yeah, I
opening,
looked at
that
the,
happened a few days ago.
Okay, I looked. I couldn't, but
But it can be hard to find, but maybe more like you're talking a sign down there.
I think that would
even.
be helpful, yeah, for people
Yeah.
who are going around there and looking. Yeah.
Yep,
All right. Thank you.
yeah.
JP, thank you, appreciate that. We're gonna be skipping Keith's reports and Matt. Matt is not here tonight, and right before the meeting, Matt resigned from the committee, so I don't even think he's able to be watching, but for those of you that know Matt or anybody out there that's friends of his, we're sorry to see him go. He did a great job. He's very committed to our community. He's just overrun with his own personal work, his day job, his living. So he said farewell, and he hopes to come back someday and contribute again as a volunteer in some manner to our community. So Matt, if you are on, thank you very much. We appreciate you and we'll miss you. Thank you. Go ahead.
All right, Matt visited the Trap and Skeet range this past Saturday. The weather was nice and warm. There were several vehicles in the parking lot. A lot of them were actively using the range. The areas were clean and in good order. The walking areas around the range were in good shape. The building is in good shape. Signage for the ranges is in good shape. The benches and covered metal areas are clean and in good shape. The road leading back to the Trap and Skeet is in good condition. The rock parking lots are in working condition and clean. Concrete areas are in good condition, and the building areas and storage building are all in good condition. This range is well kept. Around the area, areas for review, none. Member interaction, spoke to a member, and he said he enjoys using the area and has shot skeet for years and enjoys doing it. And no additional observations.
Kathleen, thank you for covering his last report. And then Alan is not here as well, so we will move on to current business. Tom, did you have a gun range update this month?
Yes, I do. Let me pull it up. All right, so here is a view of what the range will look like. You'll see on the right-hand side the addition of 4 baffles. On the left side, there's addition of 1 baffle. And you'll see the increased size of the berms all the way around. And I have a little bit better pictures coming up, which will show this a little bit more. This is the rifle side. The red lines are baffles, and you'll see the berms have increased in size. So we received all this information from the architect and from the civil engineer. We're going to be able to add some additional shooting positions on the rifle side also, which will be nice, and a raised prone position. So you'll be able to shoot from a prone position. Here is the pistol side, and that little dotted line you see is the baffle, and not shown on this, but on the previous one is the bastion wall, which will be on the upper portion of this shooting area, which will, because unfortunately in this area, on the bottom left, it slopes off dramatically. So we couldn't go with a berm in that area because it was running down, and to try and get it higher, it just wasn't reasonable. So we had to go with a wall. If you could look at this image, you can see on the right-hand side of the image, you can see the bastion wall, which is right next to kind of creates a little T right there, and that's where the wall is going to be. You can see that the berms are quite a bit larger which will catch the bullets. This is still an older image. The parking lots will not look like that. We've actually combined the parking lots into a single, so we can have handicap parking right next to the front check-in. This is, we've talked about needing to acquire additional land. So the light shaded dotted line is our current property, and then the dark line is the additional property we'll need to acquire in order to have space for all the berms and so forth. So Cooper's cooperating. Getting this survey and everything was no easy thing, and you know, transferring land just takes time. It's just a lengthy process to get everything completed, but we're definitely heading in the right direction. Last month we talked about this. We will have handicap parking. We will have handicap shooting locations. So this location will be ADA compliant when we're all done. We're asked about range usage. So in 2022, we had 5,700 use the range. This is just pistol and rifle. Last year, we capped out at 6,300, but remember we closed mid-November, so using just projecting, we would have probably been at 7,200 if we hadn't closed. So you see that's a 26% increase over 22, which is pretty impressive. And then Ozark Sportsman, where our members can go down and shoot for free. You'll see that we've year-to-date is 344. We had 124 last month or something like that. So it's steadily increasing in usage. So we're really pleased that we have that alternative for our membership. So at last month's regular meeting of the board of directors, they gave us approval to spend $300,000 on the renovations to the gun range, with a lot of the work being done in-house. They also approved $10,000 for the purchase of the land, $10,000 plus expenses. So we're working on acquiring the land. We can't start working on the berms until we own the property, of course. So all this was approved by the board on March 28th, and there are recordings of the meetings where this was approved, and those are available at bellavistapoa.com. And that's it. So just quick update.
I've got a question. When you report usage, do you report repeat visitors, or are they all unique visitors?
Door count. So yes, and we have a lot of frequent users that you know, use it multiple times a week or something like that. But it's door count.
Tom, thank you for that, appreciate it. Joan, by chance, did you get the Trailblazer usage statistics?
Yes, I have them for February. You may recall last month, when the city pulls their data is usually the week after we meet. So we'll always be lagging 1 month behind. So I have February's and I'll report March's and April. So we are up 67.6% over January, which is no big surprise, right? Because January is one of our lower months. The daily average was 584 users in the trails that we track, right? Because we have a lot of trails that we don't have counters on. Weekday uses for that month were over 11,160. Weekend uses were 5,754, and the busiest day just happened to be on February 24th. The most high-use trail areas that are counted, back 40 at Dorking Lane, which is the third most prevalent area for February. And the second most prevalent area is the Blowing Springs Trailhead. Now that doesn't mean just the parking lot. It means people that went up the hill from the parking lot. There's a counter right up the hill or barely up the hill. And then the top use was the Blowing Springs Greenway, which is obviously from the park at Blowing Springs all the way up to Metfield. So those were the three high counts.
Joan, thank you, I appreciate it. There is no new business, and I don't see any of our board liaisons here tonight, so we'll move into the staff reports. Tom, did you have anything to add? I did? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Okay, so I can't count and I can't read. Go ahead, I apologize.
The pools are still covered. The golf ball that was there in the fall is still there on the tarp, which is just kind of an interesting note. The playground's still closed due to I guess there was some damage done that affects safety, so we're waiting to get that fixed. Mini golf is good. Tennis courts are pretty good. There's a couple windscreens down right now, but my sense is that they get fixed pretty quickly when they go down, that they get repaired, within a couple days or if not sooner. The pavilion looked good today. I stopped before I came over here. There was some trash on the tables, but it looked like it was recent trash, like from today, and I threw that away. The rec center looks really nice. I don't see any really issues there. There were a couple of issues presented to me while I was getting a lot of texts and calls, as I think some of you were, regarding the issues with the tennis center and the scheduling. But there's a couple other issues that they didn't raise that I think you should be aware of that may become issues down the road. And one is that there are a lot of USTA teams in Bella Vista. I think right now we have 31 teams claiming Bella Vista as their home team. And on the 18 and under and the 40 and under teams, which are most of them, there's about 10% of the people on those teams that are residents. So there's people around the area like to use Bella Vista courts because they can reserve courts where you can't necessarily reserve courts at Memorial, for instance, or the Bentonville City Parks or whatnot. So I think that's kind of becoming an issue here, that we're kind of becoming a ground that everyone wants to run their team out of because they can, they can schedule courts ahead of the time. And one of the problems with
did you say 18 and under?
18
so
and under
juniors.
teams, yeah.
So they don't need to play on a Saturday morning, right?
No. Well, I don't know. They don't need to. No, I don't know.
You think they could play during the week?
They're not all playing on Saturday. These are just teams that are playing out of Bella Vista, whatever times. Each team will schedule their own times, I think. But the teams are able to reserve their courts way ahead of when the members can reserve a court. I think the members can reserve a court 7 days ahead. And that was the problem that these folks that were here today were upset about, was that they go to reserve courts and say, no, they're all full. And who were they full with? Well, we got all these teams and they've all reserved all the courts for weekends, for a couple months in advance. And they thought that it was upsetting quite a few people that they were getting more rights than the members were getting, as for reserving courts. And I'm glad that this has kind of been resolved. The main issue that had them fired up has been resolved because they'll still be able to play on Saturday mornings, which has got them really fired up. And I think you received a call from the mayor. He's one of the guys in the group. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of FYI that information. I thought those could be down the road, maybe give some thought to that maybe becoming an issue down the road. I don't know that. I think it's all resolved now. I think everybody seemed happy when they left, so that's great. I think that's it for me.
Richard, thank you, and I apologize. When I looked to my right-hand column, I saw all the names of everyone that wasn't here, and I guess I just moved on. My apologies again.
So Deborah, before we move on, I want to address some of those things because I know you're an active player, and then JP, you have ears to the ground as well. Some of it is perception, some of it is what we deal with in every sport, which is pickleball at 9 a.m., Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Those courts are blown out of the water. 1 o'clock in the afternoon, not so much, especially in the summer. Yes, the USTA leagues have grown. I can't remember who mentioned it. Tennis has grown since COVID. It's one of those sports that has grown as people wanted to find ways to recreate outside again. So, it's a good and bad problem to have. We have never given, I was trying to explain it to them, we've never given the USTA teams total use of the courts. But in this case, this group is a fairly large group. And so they have wanted maybe 5, 6, 7 courts before, and they're just not available. No different than golf on a Saturday morning, there's only so many tee times. And if there's a tournament, and I liken the tournament, because we have tournaments many weekends, a lot of those people are coming here from outside. Golf is open to the public, so is tennis. So when you have a tournament going on, of course, on golf, you're not going to have as many tee times. If you have a USTA league going on at tennis, you're not going to have all the courts available. But we don't block all the courts. But you're right, USTA rules also address that the matches have to be scheduled in advance because it has to be pushed out to the teams. I will tell you, as a tennis player myself for many years, many clubs, and also managing tennis for a good part of my career, USTA is a foundation to tennis, and the people that love it and play it love it, and then there's the other tennis players who maybe aren't participating in USTA, and they always feel like, okay, it's a takeaway. Not all the USTA matches are scheduled on Saturday morning. They are scheduled on weeknights at 6 and 8, and they're also scheduled on Sundays. But because of the sheer volume, it does take up court time. So I don't know that there's a perfect answer, but we are trying to schedule. But again, just like golf, tennis is open to the public, and those people pay higher rates than our POA members. We can't have it both ways. A POA member on a USTA team has to follow the same rules as a USTA member who's not a POA member. So I just want to give a little bit of clarity around that. And yes, I do think we were able to make this one group happy, but there's always going to be some group
I was just thinking, I know that the Saturday group, like you said, is large. And it's usually 28 to 32 people that take up 5 or 6 courts. And I know that some of the women's groups are not real happy that why do the men always get the courts on Saturday morning? We can't get them on Saturday morning. So I know it's kind of a hard juggling act.
Well, the last thing I'll say about that, and I appreciate that, is they also had a discussion about adding a Friday morning ladies play to sort of help with the ladies that feel like maybe they want to get more time too, some more permanent time. So,
That's a good thing.
but again, this member here who works full time, there's always a challenge. So I will follow up with them.
It feels like the demographic is changing, right? So more and more working people are living here. It's not like when I came and lived here, it was people who had time during the week to play. So I think you should build more tennis courts. That would fix a lot.
Or fix the ones we have.
All right, you guys, thank you for that. Moving along. Tom, anything else to add, sir?
For many of our members, they'll notice that the ballots for this year's board election have been going out. If you haven't received it via email yet, give it a little bit of time. They can't send all the ballots out at one time. The systems, the servers interpret that as spam, and then they shut it down, so they have to trickle those out. So over the next couple days, take a look at your email. I got mine already, and if you don't get yours, check your spam filter, and then the paper ballots will go out starting tomorrow. So however quick Uncle Sam is able to get them to you. Take the time, do some research, vote intelligently, but most importantly, vote.
Thank you. Rick, do you have anything for tonight?
Yes, a few items. We're getting up on recreation season. We closed the valves on Lake Windsor on March 1st. We've had a little bit of a delay in getting the lake back up because we've been fairly dry. We are expecting some rain later this week, which should alleviate that, but we're currently still down 23 inches as of this morning. Our POA Rangers are out and about doing their thing. They made 2,824 contacts for March. That's compared to 2,300 in February and 1,400 in March of last year, so way up over March of last year. The rates of finding people who don't belong here and asking them to leave has been pretty steady throughout all that time. Our grounds maintenance has also been busy. As mentioned earlier, the pavilion roofs at Tyrie and London Landing have been replaced. We still have one to replace at Ann Park this year. Avalon Heated Fishing Dock project is about 85% complete. We're getting the electric hooked back up this week, and so that should be open fairly soon. We did have a sunken boat on Lake Windsor over the weekend. We've made contact with the owner to try to get that out. But we did secure the gas tanks to make sure that there was no gas leaks. We're looking at replacing the gate motor assembly at RV Storage. It's up at the end of its life, and that should be done sometime this spring. Our Lakes Ecology Department is out doing their monthly water quality analysis, and everything looks good so far this year. Lake Brittany has likely been stocked for the last time with rainbow trout this spring. Again, we're having trouble getting our permit. So going forward, I think what we're going to do is move most of our trout stocking to the fall so we can get that done and then just let that carry through to the spring. That way we will get everything in the water. We've been out collecting grass carp and red ear. Today, the grass carp to allow some vegetation to come back in Loch Lomond, and the red ear for our brood fish for the aquaculture ponds. And talking about our aquaculture ponds, we installed our fourth and final liner this past week. We had 31 people from 9 departments helping us with that, and so shows that it was a good opportunity for a lot of different people to work together, and I appreciate everyone's effort with that. At the gun range, as Tom mentioned, we had 123 visits to Ozark Sportsman in February. We doing a lot of preliminary work related to getting that thing back going. And the most important thing out of the gun range for this month is that our long-term employee, Carol Harless, is back to work. So just without revealing his age, he's been with us for 25 years after he retired from a previous job. So he's the nuts and bolts that hold that place together.
That's awesome. Hey, I'm just curious, are there rangers on Windsor, or do you have to wait for the boat launches to open up?
So the boat launches are open. We intended to be on the water this past weekend. We had a couple of incidents, but it was so windy there by the dam that we kept the boat off the water. Yeah.
Thank you. Joan, oh, I'm sorry, did you have something, Richard?
I just had one question for Rick. When you said that you're collecting grass carp and red ear,
Yes.
What does that involve?
Electrofishing. So we 3 or 4 years ago, we stopped a lot of grass carp to try to eradicate an invasive aquatic weed. We've been very successful at doing that, and now it's time to remove some of those fish
Okay.
so we can let some of the native vegetation return.
Okay, so you're removing the grass carp and red
Removing the
ear.
grass carp, the red ear are for our brood fish for our aquaculture program.
I'm actually gonna let Jess start. I'm gonna have her speak to the egg hunt and what's going on with the pools getting ready, and ramping up for the summer.
So the Easter egg hunt was a huge success. We had one of our managers just counting some of the kids, and what do you say, the first two age groups, 450 kids in just two age groups. So it's getting bigger and bigger every year. But it was a hit, and Joan had a fun Ozy. I don't know what you call that thing.
I just called it
Off-road or
mini truck.
yeah, mini truck, which was cool on the other side of the road, stick shift. And she drove me down to the Blowing Springs after that, and we handed out bags. So that was great. Love being the bunny. So, or I'm not the bunny, no. And for the pools, so tomorrow, Kingsdale, we will begin the opening. We'll be doing some replastering on the baby pool there, as well as the one over at Metfield, baby pool, waiting pool, whatever you want to call it. Metfield will be in the first week of May, but we're going to be focusing on Kingsdale, obviously, because that's our bigger complex, two big size pools, and we like to do it early because never fails. There's going to be leaks and all kinds of stuff that we need to address, and so we'll be working on that. So give it a week or so. The water may not look beautiful right when it opens, but it will.
And then continue to talk about Blowing Springs a little bit. Kathleen mentioned it's good that the bathrooms are stocked because that becomes an ongoing issue, especially because we've had March was kind of a record-setting month for us at the park overall. Just the good weather and just a great time to be out. A lot of camping. We did have sell out this weekend for a lot of people came in, as was mentioned, for the eclipse. The BVRC has been very busy. We're close to 600 fobs being sold now, and that's those after-hour fobs that are sold so people can come in if they are wanting to use the sender after hours, and so that's been successful. Now there's much less use of those fobs, but I think a lot of people want them as insurance in case, you know, their schedules change or whatnot. But it's been a steady group of active users overnight, and then the weekends before we open and after we open is quite popular as well. Also going on at Kingsdale and the BVRC proper, the whole complex, besides tennis, Richard mentioned the pavilion. We power washed that about a month ago. The bad news about that pavilion, good news is it's big and it's a lot of people like to use it. The bad news is it sits down, and so whenever we get rain, we get a lot of dirt down there. So Johnny's team did a really good job power washing that and getting that ready for the spring. And also the playground, as Richard mentioned. So unfortunately, it is closed. We've had a heck of a time people keeping off of it. We have put snow fences up. We have big posters. And what's always amazing to me, so if you have any way of passing the words, is that parents watch while their kids get on a playground that's closed. And we're certainly not doing it because we don't want them to play on it, but we have to keep them safe. And unfortunately, we're waiting on parts, and we're at, the timing of the vendors. God willing, none of those parts are sitting over in Baltimore, Maryland, because, there's a big barge out there, and we joke, but every time we have something on order, we're like, is it sitting on a barge someplace? So hopefully we'll know a little bit more about the timing on that, but that's why that's down, unfortunately. The swing set is still open, and we're encouraging people to go down to the treehouse if they're looking for a park in that general area, because behind the treehouse, if you've never walked around the backside, there are more swings, there are climbing structures. So that gives a local area close to Kingsdale that can be used in the meantime. Mentioned earlier, JP, when you were mentioning trying to find things on the website, we recently added a calendar for fitness classes, and then, as Jess mentioned, it will also have the availability to show like when the pools are open and when the beach is open, but you have to get to the right area. So, you know, if you go under things to do and under fitness, recreation, there's a lot of information. There's a lot of information on our website. Absolutely. There is a search bar that they've improved, so you can type in things like fitness class schedule and that, you know, and that will help. But you're right, if you're just kind of hunting around, there is a lot of information on our website, not just recreation related. And then the marina opened on Tuesday, and we had quite a few people call in to put deposits down on boats for the summer. So that's good. We have our bait in stock, and the boats are all ready to go, so we're excited about that. And that's about it for me, unless anybody has any questions.
Joan, thank you. Thank you all. Sorry we ran a little late tonight, even with this small of a group. Our next committee meeting is Monday, May 13th at 4 o'clock in the boardroom and live stream. Y'all have a good evening. Thank you.
Just real quick before we cut the mic, Hannah, Kathleen reminded me, we do have the Spring Bazaar this Saturday at BVRC. Starts at 9 a.m., goes to 2 p.m. It's free for people. Lots of vendors of different kinds there. And also starting at 10 a.m. on Saturday, also at the BVRC, is the Children's Activity Sign-Up Day. Some of those things are already available now, but it'll be the first opportunity to sign up for the children's swim lessons. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan. Good night, everyone.